My friends, as usual, I will begin the video with this. Now, usually I say this book is written for you. Now it is, but I never say what's the last chapter. And now I'm gonna say it. It's my honeymoon in Ukraine. And some of you had some nasty comments about that. Well, I'll leave that to people who want to comment like that. You want to read what I did with my wife in Ukraine, because we spent 2 weeks there under the missiles. It's all in this book, my friends. Go and get it. Links in the description below. Go and get it for you and your friends, because everybody needs to know about Ukraine. It's Friday, my friends. You and me, we survived this week. And for that, I want to congratulate you and give you a gift. And my gift to you is this shit fountain in Russia. See, I've always talked about how Russian infrastructure, which was mostly built in the Soviet times, the piping, it doesn't hold up. It did for 50 years, but now it needs some work, and they don't do the work, and then this is the outcome. I present to you a shit fountain in Russia. Now, you don't see it anywhere else in the world, but only in Russia, and believe me, this is like the 10th or more shit fountain I see coming out of Russia. So if you've never seen a shit fountain, congratulations, you just did. To make your day even more, I want to show you how the Russian economy is actually getting better, because for these people it is. This is Kazan, and a beer truck actually fell over in Kazan. This is beer all over the highway, but some of the glass bottles did not break. And for the locals, this is the best gift Putin gave back to them. Free beer on the highway. Look at that. Hey, even I would be happy about that. But these guys are gonna have a night to remember. Well, not, maybe they're gonna get blackout drunk, so not to remember. And for the third gift I'm gonna give you today is this freight train that just derailed in Russia. Again, as I mentioned, Russian infrastructure, is it piping, is it electrical infrastructure, or the rails? Most of it is built in the 60s to 80s, so over 50 years ago. And they did work quite well for 50 years, but the thing is, if you don't maintain them right now, they are nearing the end of their life cycle, and that results in shit fountains or derailments. Now again, this is not going to hurt Russia super bad, but I show it because this symbolizes the entire Russian infrastructure which is built in the Soviet times. And if these incidents happened by the thousands in all of Russia, it's pretty bad day for Putin. Okay, I decided to give you some more gifts. 2 days ago, Ukrainians released this video of them destroying 2 Russian rare Yastrub counter-battery radar stations in the Donetsk region. Now, counter-battery is the kind of battery, if you shoot artillery at their side, they will find out where you shot it, and then they will counter-artillery your location. But you can see this is the radar station. Now, these radar stations, they are rare, they are expensive, and they're very hard to produce, and they have Western components in them, which Russia cannot get anymore. And here we can see Ukrainian drone delivering a little nice kiss and a hug. Bada boom! Poof! Gone. I'm so happy about it. You know why? Because this radar station will never work near the Estonian border to guide their artillery towards our artillery. Because it's gone. It's demilitarized. It's vaporized. That makes me happy. That's what I would call very nice. But that's the first one. We have one more. And this one also met the same fate. So, have a nice Friday, my friends. Now, my friends, we travel deep inside Russia to the Orenburg region, where there was a drone attack. Now, this is 1,000 kilometers from the Ukrainian border, and Ukrainians have sent drones even 2,000 or 3,000 kilometers away from their border. What's peculiar about this is a lot of locals filmed these drones flying in this area. Many locals, as you can see from the videos on the screen. I'll show you some more of them just to hammer in the point of how many different videos we got. And this is the air alert siren in Orenburg. If you go Okay, sorry, I'm having fun, my friends. Well, okay, you get the point. Many videos of locals filming in Orenburg. What the locals claim, now this is the fun part, is that Ukrainian sabotage units may have crossed in from Kazakhstan. Drones were allegedly spotted near Russian strategic missile forces bases. Now, as you can see, Orenburg region is next to Kazakhstan, the bordering oblast. The thing is, this kind of talk is a symbol of some kind of a mind state in Russia. If you're 1,000 clicks from Ukraine, you see drones in the sky and immediately you think, oh my god, these are Ukrainian special forces and sabotage groups that came from Kazakhstan. This gives us an idea of the paranoid state Russian people live in. What capabilities they project to the Ukrainians. Now, I'm here to say, you see these reports all the time right now in Twitter that, oh, Ukrainian special... No, there's no special forces. There's no sabotage groups from Kazakhstan. This is paranoia. Ukraine just sent drones, 1,000 clicks. They can do that. I mean, sending special forces and sabotage groups into Kazakhstan and into Orenburg. This is a massive operation with it's paranoia and fear. But the fact that this happens, that the Russians think this, shows you how big of a position they have in the Russian mindset, how much capabilities they have. Oh, any moment they could come in from Kazakhstan. I mean, this is a compliment to the Ukrainian SBU and GUR. Their operations have been so successful that the Russian mindset now has a massive proportion of fear dedicated to this. But in reality, what really happened is Ukraine sent long-range drones from Ukraine into Orenburg region. My friends, today I would like to introduce you to #1 news comparison site in the whole world, Ground News. And I chose a very specific piece of news, which is absolutely massive, because 1st of June was the date where Ukrainian drones destroyed 1/3 of Russian nuclear-capable Tu-95's fleet. And I have this piece of news right here. Zelensky says audacious strikes on Russian air bases will go in history books. Where did I find it? Will you go to Ground News homepage? I clicked for you, and here I have 2 topics chosen for me specifically, Ukraine and Ukraine war, and it gets all these topic news for me right in front, so it's easy to find it. Now, Ground News lays out right in front of your eyes different charts on the right here. We begin with the coverage details. Total news sources right now is 17, but it's gonna be a lot bigger, believe me. 44% leaning right, which brings us to the bias distribution chart, which is next. 33% leaning left, and it's all nicely and beautifully visualized for you, so it's easy to understand. Below that, we have the factuality chart, which says if it's mixed factuality, low or high factuality. This specific one is 56% high factuality, nothing below that is worth my time. And of course, below that, you get the ownership tab, because every owner has their own agenda. Is it owned by a person, a media conglomerate? Is it owned by an organization? They all have their own ideas to push. Right, and here you get all the articles with different titles, different wordings in the headline. For example, Lean Right. Check out this title. Zelensky hails brilliant drone strikes on Russian airfields. And also they give you the ownership with a special little color right here. They give you the factuality. For example, this one is mixed, so I'm not going to click on it. I'm not going to devote my time to this one. Has to be high factuality. Politically, it has to be in the center, and then I'll read it. By the way, my friends, for a limited time, you can get the very same plan I am using, but for half the price. Just go to ground.news/Artur or scan the QR code on the screen to get their unlimited access Vantage plan for just $5 a month. Or you can gift it to someone you know and have more informed conversations. Call out one-sided narratives and think critically about the stories shaping our world. I can only promote brands I vet, so I think you will find Ground News as valuable as I do. Thank you, Ground News, for sponsoring today's video. Now, my friends, we will travel to the Kherson region and the Russian-occupied part of the Dnipro River. Here we can see Russians making a rotation. Well, they try to make a rotation. Baggy is effed up with mines. Well, there was one baggy, there is one self-propelled howitzer gun, and the guy talking about it is also having a lot of fun, by the way. Then there is more. There is a truck. I'm sorry, I think this was a towed howitzer. Yes, it was. Then there's a truck, and then there's a BMP, if I'm not mistaken. These are tracks, not wheels, right? So 4 vehicles were demilitarized. These were supposed to be rotation troops to rotate out the frontline units, but Ukrainians had a different idea and they delivered some presents and greetings to this convoy. 4 vehicles knocked out cold. In this next video, my friends, we're gonna watch Russian troops, Russian prisoners of war from Ukraine being exchanged back into Russia. It's a propaganda stunt filmed by the Russians. They all have Russian flags. They seem really happy and they're all very healthy, because in Ukrainian POW camps you get fed 3 times a day, and you can even do some work if you want to. You can call home as much as you want. It's good life for them. The Ukrainians who were exchanged back from Russia, they look very tired. Most of them are very sick, and some actually even die after they reach Ukraine because they cannot get better. The thing is, I just made a long essay video also. It will be released in about half a month about Russian hierarchy and what happens to the troops who surrendered. See, surrender in the Russian units and Russian army it's frowned upon. You're the lowest of the low if you do that. So if you get exchanged back to Russia, these guys might be happy, but this is the last happy moment they experience. What's the fate of these guys if they reach Russia is they will immediately be sent back to the front and not to the previous units they were in. Maybe some of them were in the better units. They will be sent to Storm Z, which is the lowest of the low, where there are prisoners, where there are convicts, alcoholics, drug addicts, refuseniks, and they will be sent into the meat grinder to absorb Ukrainian ammunition. So yeah, you know what's the fate of these guys. They survived in Ukrainian captivity very well, but as soon as they are released back to the home country, their happy days now are over. And I want to show you a Storm Z unit. So I don't want to share the full video because it's very graphic, but this is a Storm Z unit. The video was released actually yesterday. Storm Z is the one that is not supposed to take a position or advance. They are the ones designed to absorb Ukrainian ammunition in the first wave. So the VDV or other better equipped, better trained units can follow up when Ukrainians are reloading or repositioning or have, rotations. So this is the most recent Storm Z buggy. They got 1 buggy and there's 9 guys on top of that buggy. I mean, as many guys as you can fit on top. It's a 1 Storm Z squad. Now, these guys from the bus who were so happy to be exchanged back to Russia, they're gonna be on this buggy in a week or 2. But this is yesterday's buggy, yesterday's Storm Z attack, and it was 1 Ukrainian FPV drone that rammed right in the middle of them, making red mist. It's minced meat barbecue, however you want to call it. It's 9 guys versus 1 FPV. Usually you gotta hunt them down one by one. It's like 25, 30 FPVs, because even 1 troop might take 2 drones. In this instance, you couldn't get more accurate than this. It's a whole squad packed together by the kilogram, and boom, straight smack in the middle of it with the Ukrainian freedom spreading FPV. That's the future of these POWs exchanged back into Russia. Now, my friends, we go to the newest NATO member, which is Finland. We go to the border, Russian border of look at that border. It's 1,000 kilometers. Majority of it is bogs. Water bodies, very small. Some bigger ones. Bogs, forests. It's very cold. Russians have 3 major bases here, and they have started to modernize them or build new infrastructure around them, which we can see in these satellite photos, satellite videos. Putin has started to deploy more equipment into these 3 bases. As you can see, more equipment. We of course see also pontoon bridges here. We see pioneer equipment. If we put it to sheer numbers, it's about 15 to 20,000 troops worth of infrastructure that Putin is ordering to be built right now here. So in the span of next 2 to 3 years, there might be 20,000 more Russian troops on the Finnish border. But what we see happening on the Finnish side is building an entire new military base with NATO capabilities. I mean, we have F-35s landing on Finland's highways. They're practicing that every year. F-16, F-35s. Finland is acquiring F-35s. So we see what Israel is doing with F-35s in Iran right now. No F-35 has been shot down at all in Iran during this entire operation they're doing. So I'm gonna say it. Please argument me in the comments, but these bases will be massive targets for the Finnish F-35s that cannot be shot down by Russia because they cannot see them. They just are not able to see them on the Russian-made radars. So yeah, there might be 20k more troops here with the equipment. Finland just needs to have a lot of glide bombs on these F-35s. As I told you at the beginning of the video of the Russian paranoia and fear that Ukrainian sabotage groups are in Orenburg, they're not. I will continue on this fake news kind of thing. North Korea is reportedly considering sending 25,000 workers to Russia Alabuga special economic zone, the main hub for Shahed building and reconnaissance drone production, according to Japan, citing Western and Russian diplomatic sources. Sergei Shoigu just visited North Korea. Why? Because Israel is taking out most of Iranian Shahed producing capabilities, meaning Russia needed to replace this logistics chain really fast, so they sent Sergei Shoigu to North Korea, where the communication came out that Kim Jong-un now is ready to deploy 25,000 workers to Russia. Thing is, yeah, they deployed 11,000 troops, half of which were demilitarized in the 6 months by Ukraine. Handling 25,000 foreign workers who don't speak Russian in a one factory complex like that, it's a nice headline, it's a nice, information operation, but that's all it is. Russians do not have the capability to make 25,000 North Koreans work efficiently or work correctly in building these Shahed drones. If Russians really want to build these Shahed drones with North Korean help, they would just do it in North Korea and ship it back to Russia. Sending 25,000 troops who might desert, you have to guard them all the time, and North Koreans, as soon as they can, they will run away. It's an information operation, my friends. This is what I'm telling you here. But it works because every Western media outlet is reporting on it. But here, I will tell you, and I will stand by my words as much as I know about these two countries and how they do things. This is an information operation designed to get Western attention. It's not real. Continuing on the info op, this next specific operation done by the Russians is not a purely info op. They are moving capabilities on the ground. In these videos, we can see Crimea, Pioneer equipment moving in Crimea back and forth. What is the closest front line to Crimea? Of course, Kherson, Dnipro River. And this is specific equipment for river crossing. I mean, we can see pontoon bridges right here. It is all filmed by Ukrainian partisan group outage. And there's plenty of this equipment. Look at that, how much of it. But it's moving back and forth in Crimea. The goal of this is to make Ukrainians think Russians are going to cross the Dnipro River somewhere near Kherson region. Now again, I'm here to tell you, any kind of Ukrainians or Russians telling, oh, they're going to cross any moment, they're not. They don't have the capability. They don't have the troops there to cross Kherson River, Dnipro River in any kind of important fashion to take ground or make a surprise assault. Russia would need tens and tens more or thousands of more troops in the area. They don't. They're systematically moving troops away from Kherson into Kursk. So this kind of movement of pioneer troops and pontoon bridges in Crimea is designed to guide the attention of Ukrainian leadership. Oh, maybe they're doing that. Let's deploy troops into Kherson. Again, I'm telling you, it's just a mission from Russians to confuse Ukrainian leadership. They don't have any kind of capabilities on the ground to massively cross the Dnipro River. Yes, they can do that with small boats and small recon groups, but no big, fully formed units. I'm claiming they don't have that capability right now. Now we travel back to Russia, my friends, where yesterday there was a massive internet outage. Sometimes you hear one city, two cities, some areas. No, we're talking about 35 regions, 50 million people, roughly 36% of the population. Some places have been without internet for a week. Regions in darker shade red also don't have cellular connectivity. Look at that map. So this is massive. For Putin, yeah, he controls fully the internal media. He controls the narrative. But sometimes when drones fly, when something blows up, or some kind of information is spreading that they want to stop, it's just so much faster for the Russian leadership to just cut the entire internet. See, it's Russia. What are they going to do? It's not a human right there. Nobody cares about if they have or haven't got internet. I mean, the leadership doesn't care. So, if there's any kind of information they want to stop from spreading, it's just so easy to cut internet on these areas for a few days or a week until the storm is over and then, put it to work again. And that's what this is. And they have no problem in cutting internet for 50 million people. This is massive. Now, my friends, I want to guide your attention because this information just came out. Russia issued another round of war bonds, or just bonds of Russian government, because they're in massive deficit. And everybody's saying, oh, Russia's gonna collapse. It takes time. A country as big as Russia, with so many resources as Russia and so many revenue streams, it's very hard to collapse that kind of an economy. But we're doing that. We, as a collective West, we're doing it. We are. It's working. You know how I know it's working? Because a country that makes a massive amount of money every month is not issuing bonds, meaning they're not going to borrow money from their own people. Russia borrowed nearly $33 billion in 6 months because it can't afford the war. Oil and gas revenues have collapsed, war costs are exploding. And yeah, I know the comments, oh, because of the Israeli-Iranian war, oil prices have risen. They have, my friends, quite a lot. But not to the point which Russians budgeted for 25 and 26. Even with prices right now, they're still losing money. They're still not making as much as they budgeted. So if they're making less, they have to borrow more. So their budget is in a massive deficit and they're on a massive spending spree. Currently, the Kremlin is borrowing at 15.2% for 6 years and 15.5% for 11 years. Now, this is an interesting fact here because Russian interest rate from the central bank right now is 20%. So if they're borrowing from 15, I mean, it's not even enough to, cover the interest rate. It's smaller than the interest rate. So it's a very bad terms for the guy who gives the money, which is Russian people. Secondly, they're not going to pay the money back. They have defaulted on their bonds many times. And thirdly, it's the Russian people who are they taking money from. It's the regular Russian people and Russian businesses because they are forcing businesses to buy these bonds. This is how it happens in Russia. They're forcing businesses to fund the war. And you can do that for some time, but not forever because they will also run out of money. What I'm saying here is Russia is running out and already has run out of money. It's an issue. I'll say it again. If you have money, you don't borrow. They don't. And on that, I will continue to illustrate for you how the Russian Empire and all across the world, yes, because they have it in the Middle East and in Africa, how it's crumbling. Check it out. The Syrian regime fell. Assad is gone. Now Assad was backed by Iran and Russia. Assad fell. Moldova election lost despite massive Kremlin efforts. Yes, because pro-Western president candidate won. Romanian election lost despite massive Kremlin efforts. Pro-Western candidate won. Wow, wow, wow. Orbán in Hungary on track to fall. Opposition polling hugely ahead. And now Iran, and I am claiming on this channel that Iranian regime will fall. Iranian regime is backed by Russia. Syria was backed by Russia. They're falling one by one, crumbling these Russian proxy states. Iran is not a proxy state, but they're massively connected and backed, and they are supposed to have this security deal. So we can see Russian empire the noose is closing and closing and closing. And at the same time, we see Russians borrowing massive amounts of money. They're not making money. Their territories are crumbling. They're losing allies left and right. While NATO is gaining allies. I mean, Sweden and Finland, both very strong militaries, joined NATO. And Syria and Iran are falling. So you can put these two into perspective, which side is gaining power, which side is losing it, if you look at the very macro scale of this conflict. And now I will read you one of Russian Telegram analysts' chatter. I think he's about to get the point, my friends. And you will also. Let's get your popcorn. Let's enjoy this self-analysis of a Russian Telegram analyst. Israel participated in the operation against Iran for several days. Russia has been participating in the operation against Ukraine for several years. Israeli aviation bombs Iranian targets without losses and has complete air superiority. Russian aviation loses more aircraft than it produces during the operation. Israel destroyed the top Iran's military political administration. Russia cannot even strike at the decision-making center, let alone eliminate the military political administration for Ukraine. Israel air defense repelled hundreds of missile launchers and only a few reached their targets. Russian air defense allows light engine crop duster aircraft air gazelles to pass through. Israel intelligence service operate in Iran as if it were their home. There is virtually no activity by Russian intelligence services in Ukraine. This does not mean that, as some beauty blogger tells us, you don't need to know about it, everything is there. Israel strikes Iranian TV channels. Russia is unable to stop the work of Ukrainian television. And when we are told that one of the countries is not yet at war, it turns out that it is at full force. And here he means Russia, because yes, I'll say that again. Russia doesn't have anything hidden, anything in the reserve. Everything they have is in Ukraine on the front lines, except the nuclear weapons. Apparently, a full-scale war for one of the sides means throwing huge amounts of freshly mobilized meat at the front and not technology. Guess which one? This comes from Russian Telegram. So they are analyzing the fall of yet another one of their friends next to Syria. Now it's Iran. It's a pattern forming. Russian allies are crumbling one by one. And Russian state budget revenues have crumbled. It's a wonderful analysis, my friends. It's always nice to see monkeys do a little bit of self-reflecting. Now, my friends, we traveled to Finland. And I'm a huge fan of Finland. Because in my eyes, as a country, they do so many things right that we, Estonia, need to follow, need to copy pretty much. For example, Finland withdraws from Ottawa mine ban treaty by parliamentary vote of 157 for and 18 against. Now, this is a big thing because majority of Western and NATO countries are in the Ottawa Treaty, which bans anti-infantry mines. Now, Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, the Baltics, are still in that treaty. We, Estonians, we are going to pull out 100%. It just takes time. Finland already did it. What we have seen in Ukraine is that anti-tank mines with infantry mines, if they are saturated on the border areas with anti-tank ditches, barbed wire and drones overlooking the area and artillery ready to shoot, this defense works miracles. It works very well. But you need to have massive amounts of mines, anti-infantry mines, anti-tank mines. So Finland is going to buy anti-infantry mines and they're going to mine the hell out of areas where Russians might want to assault. Because you cannot assault from everywhere. There are certain areas you only can. And you mine those to oblivion and nothing comes over the border. That's the right thing to do. We're going to do the same. Props to Finland, Kiitos, my Nordic brothers, because this is our collective defense. Well done. Now we travel back to Ukraine because Ukrainian parliament has also done something historic, something very important. Ukrainian parliament passes law on dual citizenship. See, all over the world, across the entire globe, there are about 60 million Ukrainians. That's a massive number. Yes, you heard correctly, about half of the entire population lives outside of Ukraine. So they miss their home, and right now you legally couldn't have dual citizenship. Well, now you can. This law unifies more the entire world's Ukrainian population and ties them back to Ukraine. Very good move by the Ukrainian parliament. My friends, now we go and I'll give you a little most important information about Iran-Israel conflict. I'll keep it short, I promise. Iran is threatening now to close the Hormuz Strait. This is the activity on the Strait of Hormuz only on the 13th of June, and these are only tankers. Just goes to illustrate how important this strait is for the global shipping, for the United States, for the EU, for China, and for Russia also. These are only tankers. Their real activity is much higher. So Iran has capability to close it with military, force, with ships. If they do that, I'm telling you, United States is already getting ready to be involved in this war. They will jump in no time. Iran is threatening to close it. Continuing on the United States involvement, here we can see 12 F-22 Raptors preparing to cross the Atlantic bond to the Royal Air Force Lakenheath in England, with their final destination being Muwafaq Salti Air Base in Jordan. F-22s being, I would say, the most advanced fighter jets in the world next to F-35s. I mean, it's depending on who you ask. Thing is, F-22s have never been exported. Only a few hundred of them are made. And I would say they are still the best fighter aircraft in the world. Please argue with me in the comments, of course, but I'm saying they're better fighter aircraft than F-35. F-35, of course, being better multi-role fighter, but F-22 in a dogfight, I would say, would win. Now, this is not only, but wait, there's more. This is kind of a top shop commercial of Iran, because the United States announces it's sending USS Ford aircraft carrier strike group to Europe. It means 3 United States aircraft carriers and 1 British will be deployed near Israel and Iran. The amount of allied firepower in the region will be enormous, and it's really hard to describe how massive of a firepower, of a punch, these 4 aircraft carriers carry. 1 aircraft carrier, the strike group, has enough Tomahawk missiles and fighter jets and bombers to take Iran back to Stone Age. We're talking 4. So, this is enough to crumble empires. By the way, my friends, did you know that in 2021, Russia and Iran made a deal of Iran buying 50 Su-35 fighter jets from Russia? Su-35 being one of Russia's newest fighter jets and one of the more modern ones. It's a massive deal with massive amounts of money. 50 were promised in 21 before the full-scale invasion. How many are delivered, do you think? 0. You're correct. Take candy. Then the deal was modified in 2022. Iran gave Russia 1,700 Shahed drones in exchange for 24 Russian fighter aircraft, but Russia never delivered the planes to Iran. So in both of these instances, Russia never fulfilled their part of the promise. And in the second instance, they got 1,700 drones and still did not deliver their fighters. This tells us an interesting story that many people just have a hard time believing. Russia cannot produce aircraft. They cannot export them. They cannot sell them. Everything they have is connected to the war in Ukraine. They have nothing extra. Some people say, oh, now you poked the bear. You really pissed them off. What are they going to do? All they do already. They bombard civilians and hospitals. I mean, there's nowhere to escalate except for nuclear weapons. So, Iran didn't get their fighter jets. If they did, maybe they could have had some dogfights with the F-35s, but they didn't get them because Russia cannot export any aerial capabilities. And my friends, I will end this video with, like I began it, with a nice eye candy for you, because Iran's militias have finally found Mossad's vehicles, Mossad operators' vehicles inside Iran. The vehicles they used to launch drones and destroy Iranian air defense and missile launchers. Check it out. It's a universal-bodied car that's carrying wood, only it's not wood. It's actually a box which was filled with drones. Look at that. Very nice. This is very much like Ukrainian Operation Spiderweb. Super similar. The similarities are crazy, and all Iranians could do is just find this equipment after it's all being used up and Iranian missile launchers are destroyed. But such an easy thing, and it tells us that Israel is operating in Iran, boots on the ground, with no issues. They can shoot and duck, hit and run. And this is massive. Russia cannot do anything like that in Ukraine, but Ukraine is doing the same in Russia. This really tells you who has the more capable intelligence operations, intelligence networks. All right, my friends, Friday, I'm gonna go and have a cold brewski with my friends today. You should go and read this book, 8 Missions in Ukraine. I've poured a lot of my time and resources into this project for the last year and a half, and I wrote a whole chapter about my honeymoon with my wife in Ukraine. If you're wondering, how can you spend a honeymoon in a war zone? You can, my friends, you can. You just have to be an absolute giga chad. So go and read it, go and get it. Links in the description below. Get it for your grandmother also. Until my next video, my friends, Slava Ukraini, and bye-bye. Call out one-sided narratives and think critically about the stories shaping our world. I can only promote brands I vet, so I think you will find Ground News as valuable as I do. Thank you, Ground News, for sponsoring today's video.